Alright, so, new video here, just playing some 100 no limit on Bovada, about to start. It's time for heads up today. Gonna start off just folding a crap hand out of position against 3x. Looks like he's gonna probably be 3xing buttons, so I'm not gonna defend a whole lot, really. Unless I find that he folds the 3-bets too much or something like that. I think ace-8 off is a standard flat against his 3x. He checks back flop. I'm just going to half pot the turn because I want some action and I want to kind of see how he plays. He calls. River's a third diamond, which is whatever, backdoor flush. I don't mind. I still can half pot and probably get called by a worse hand. Oh, never mind. I have a boat. I don't know what I'm thinking. Huh. I could maybe have potted the river and gotten called by a 6, but I wanted ace high to call, so I made it a little smaller, and he actually called me with the flush. So I probably could have potted, well, maybe could have potted river. It is a double paired board, but in any event, so you can argue a little about the sizing on the river there, but just going to check this back for now. I'm not going to start off c-betting a whole lot of garbage against him until he gives me a reason to. Plus, if he checks 3 times, king high is likely good here. Yeah, no, he has a 10. He checked 3 times with the 10. That's interesting. I guess I probably would have led turn in his position, but it's okay to check too. Here, this is a pretty standard 3-bet for me, and he folds. So he folds to my first 3-bet. That's worth noting. He didn't even think about it. He just insta-folded. I am going to be 3xing every button until he gives me a reason not to, like if he starts 3-betting somewhat aggressively. Once I get an idea of how much he 3-bets, then I'll kind of adjust my button opening range a little bit. 7-6 off is not a defend against 3x in general. It's possible if you have a lot of good game flow and you know, like if you're leading a lot of flops and he's folding a lot or something, then that's fine. But like I said, 3xing every button until he stops me from doing so. Like that, for instance. So that's his first 3-bet. Obviously, we have an easy fold with garbage. Here I'm going to 3-bet queen 6 suited just as a bluff and see how he... I want more information on how he responds to 3-bets. Here I flop a flush draw and I'm going to c-bet my standard half pot. Get called. Turn the flush, which is outstanding. Going to barrel half pot. And get called. River is fine. Just go ahead and ship it in here and hope that he calls. Wow, and we get flush over flushed, so that's a pretty nasty cooler to start with. Gonna rebuy. I'm just going to check back top here because it's a pretty coordinated board. There's a lot of bad turn cards. That's one of them. And now there's a straight on board, so probably chopping. I call, he might have a jack, but yeah, we just chop. Still, he's only 3-bet me once so far, so I'm still going to be 3xing every button unless I start to see him 3-bet a little more aggressively. I guess I just open folded 5 deuce off because... Actually, I don't know. Maybe I should have opened that, but I feel like occasionally opening a button, or occasionally open folding a button helps my image a little bit, so that he doesn't think that I'm opening every single button for 3x. So we'll fold the bottom 5 or 10% of hands for a little bit. Yeah, he does. Okay, that's his second 3-bet, so maybe he 3-bets a little bit So that's probably enough to at least open fold a few of the worst buttons. This is an easy fold against 3x. Flop nothing. Ace high I feel like is a pretty standard check back here. If he leads the flop for the first time, I will probably call one barrel and fold turn. But he doesn't lead, so... I do have a gutter now to the 4. I'll just check it back again. Probably showdown ace high here and win, I would imagine. Yeah. Just folding garbage to his 3x. So he seems to be 3xing pretty wide. Like, I don't think I've seen him open fold a button yet. So that means we can 3-bet him a pretty good bit. Especially if he folds to it a lot. Queen 7 off is just not strong enough to defend against 3x. I'd probably flat it against min raise. It'd be like the bottom of my flatting range against min raise, but it's fine. Gonna open this, kind of see what he does. Get flatted, flop nothing. Gonna check it back here because I feel like since I lost that cooler already, I don't have a great image for c-bet bluffing at the moment. I river a 9 though. I'm gonna bet pot here and see if he'll call me with worse, like pocket 5s or something might call. Nine 5 off is just not a defend against his 3x. So again, yeah, I'm kind of fluctuating between opening every button and opening like 90% of buttons at the moment. So we do see him fold a couple of buttons and he quits. That's lame. Alright, well, coolers me and leaves, so see if I can find another match. This guy is not going to play. And this guy's not going to play. So there may not be a heads-up match available right now. Not at my stakes anyway. Okay, well, no heads up. I guess barring that, we'll just turn this into a zone video. So my approach in the zone is going to be pretty aggressive with in-position 3-bets because I feel like the main leaks in this game are that people don't fold to 3-bet people fold to 3-bet too often and they don't fight back aggressively enough against underbets. So they don't 4-bet enough, which means I can protection 3-bet them a lot with a fairly wide range. Can also 3-bet bluff some. Here I flop nut flush draw, so just going to make my standard half pot c-bet. Half pot is pretty much my standard c-bet in most spots because, hold on. It's my standard c-bet in most spots because people fold to it too often and don't raise it enough. So I barrel half pot here, again with nut flush draw, and get shoved on. I flush draw on a pair. I'm getting, I'll hit this about a little less than 1/3 of the time, so I need to be getting like over 2-1. I don't think it's quite good enough to call here, especially because he could be hitting, I'm only going to hit the flush like 20% of the time, a little less, and he could have 2 pair or better already. Let's see. I just check back flop here with nothing after isolating a limper. He checks again, and I turn a gutter, so I'll go ahead and put a bet in. And he folds. That's good. I am going to insta-fold a few hands that might be playable in some spots, just because I think it's a better use of time to just get onto better hands. And here I could 3-bet. I could squeeze this if the original raiser weren't short, but he is, so I'll just flat, and we flop nothing. And this is an easy fold to a pot bet, of course. I do open wider than is standard in some spots, especially like suited aces in any position. That's not standard to do, but I do it because I feel like people don't 3-bet enough in position and don't defend enough in position in general. Here I think 9s are a flat here against under the gun, out of position, especially because he's short. It makes me not want to 3-bet him so much. So now there's a check raise before me, so this is a pretty easy fold, even though I have top pair, I think. So 3-way pot here. I'm just going to check it. This is an okay spot to lead, but I don't really want to get raised and then have to face over pairs. The king is a bad turn, so I just check again against 2 people. Checks through. I think I can half pot river for value now because it's unlikely anyone has a king after they both check again. I get raised on the river. That's kind of weird. He could have done that with a king, waiting for the other guy to bet. It's a really weird spot to try to bluff if he doesn't have anything. I'm just going to fold because I don't think anyone's bluffing often enough in that spot. I think he just has a king pretty often. Another thing these people don't do enough is bluff in general. So you can make some pretty good exploitative folds in a lot of spots where people just won't be bluffing often enough. So I am opening pot on under the gun, hijack, and cutoff, but I'm only opening 3x on the button because I want to give people a little bit better odds to play. This is a pretty bad flop against 2 people that flatted in the blinds. They're both going to be all over this board when they flat out of position against under the gun. This guy looks like he might lead out here. Yeah. He leads out very small, like 1/3 pot. I guess I'll peel 1 street with the gutter and backdoor flush draw because it's such a small bet. But we don't hit a jack or a diamond, so we're probably folding to further barrels here. Here I'm just going to check back ace high because this is a monotone board. Now this is an easy fold now to the second barrel. Now I'm going to protection bet turn because I think I have the best hand a lot. Get called for the 6. And check it down. He just had king high and the second nut flush draw, so we take that down with ace high. That's good. We flop nothing. Just check this. There's a fair number of hands he can have that hit this, like any king X, a fair number of draws and so on. I'm just checking all the way down and probably not calling anything. Here we have a short stacker who 4x the button, so I'm just going to fold against the limper. I'm just going to fold queen 8 suited. I could potentially 3-bet bluff if he wasn't short, but again, we can't 3-bet bluff short stackers. Here I just check fold ace high because I don't know if he's going to barrel river, and like a check call isn't terrible, but I feel like I'm just going to kind of exploitatively fold flop, or fold turn rather, because he can have a fair number of pairs too. Seven five off is not quite a button open. Like 7-6 off I think is a button open, but not 7-5 off. So king jack on the big blind. If anyone opens in the first two seats, it's gonna be a fold. Yeah, well, against min raise, I still fold. I'm getting really good pot odds there, but against under the gun min raise, I just feel like king jack offsuit is dominated too often by an under the gun raising range, so I don't really want to play it out of position, even though I'm getting very good pot odds. That's kind of a key point there. 10-7 off is, I don't think, quite a button open. Probably 10-8 off is the worst hand of that kind that I'm opening on the button. It's really important to note that button opening ranges in 6-max or full ring are much different from button opening ranges in heads up, because you have to face 2 people in the blinds instead of just 1. Here I'm raising, so this is a spot where I raise very big when I'm in the blinds against limpers. Jack 9 off, I'm just folding to this small blind 4x. Let me just take it down pretty, that's fine. Jack 10 suited is an easy open from the hijack, I feel. Get called by the short button. Let me flop nothing. Just gonna check fold this. I do have 2 overs, but I have not even a backdoor flush draw, so that kind of makes me lean toward not c-betting. Just gonna check fold. Ace jack suited is a standard open, obviously from anywhere, so I'm opening on the cutoff. Get called by the small blind, who's a little bit short. And 3-bet by the big blind, who is also pretty short. I guess this is a call. Ace jack suited is kind of near the bottom of my flatting range here. Flop top pair, top kicker. He could have an overpair, in which case we're gonna go broke. Just call here. Turn doesn't do anything. We call it off. He has aces, that's unfortunate. Actually could raise this ace 10 off against a couple of limpers out of position, but ooh, and the big blind short raises, that makes it an easy fold. King 6 off might be a button open, but here we get 3-bet really small. So I guess getting over 3-1 we're calling, but we're not going to be very happy with top pair. Glad to be able to check back this flop. Hoping he has queens, jacks, something like that. We'll call half pot on the turn and potentially find a river fold. Check it back. Yeah, he had jacks. So don't like his super small 3-bet there. I think you should definitely 3-bet bigger in that spot. Ace 5 suited, we're definitely going to open on the cutoff. Get called by big blind and flop nothing. Jack 9 off is an easy fold when there's an early raise. Just check back here. Turn the nut flush draw, that's not bad. He leads half pot. I guess we just call. It's possible to raise here, but I don't feel like we have that much equity, so we just check down now, and better ace high wins it. King 9 suited is a cutoff open. I'll probably open that in the hijack as well. Take down blinds. Queen Jack off is an easy fold against an early open. Here, this I would be 3-betting a lot if he weren't short, but he's short, so we just flat on the button with ace 6 suited. And he c-bets flop. I don't even have the backdoor flush draw here. I'm just folding because it's a 3-way pot, and he opened under the gun, so I feel like he's fairly strong. Ace 8 off is almost good enough to try to isolate big here out of position, but I think I just flat, or I just limp behind rather on the small blind because it's not quite strong enough. Here you can just lead out for pot on the with top pair to kicker on this flop, and they both just fold, so that's fine. Two limpers here. We isolate big with King 10 suited in position. Take it down pretty, that's fine. Ace 8 off. Of course, any ace is a standard open on the button. So this is typical. Get called by both the blinds and flop nothing, so we're not c-betting this, just the 1 overcard. We do have a shitty backdoor flush draw as well, but that's no good. We turn a gutter. This guy pots the turn, that makes this an easy fold. Here I'm opening big with Queen 10 suited against 2 limpers. Get called by the big blind short. It's unfortunate. We flop a gutter, backdoor flush draw. This is worth a c-bet, I think. Even against 2. It's close because there are 2 opponents and this is a kind of coordinated board. But we turn our gin card, which gives us the straight and 4 to the straight flush. So I'm going to bet really small on the turn. Potentially induce him. And or just get stacks. Okay, cool, and we river the flush, that's fine. Just get enough of stacks in that I can shove river without over-betting. Whoops, I think that was supposed to be an open, but around a time. And he folds river. Oh well, it's fine. I find that some people, when you underbet turn like that because of short stacks, they'll consider it to be very weak, and sometimes they'll shove on you with a weak hand, or they'll call intending to call a river shove with a fairly weak hand. But that time you just folded. Queen 9 off is like the bottom of my cutoff opening range here. Get called by button and big blind. Flop nothing. I would probably c-bet this against 1 person, but not against 2 with 2 broadways on board. So here I isolated big against a button limper with ace jack suited. Flop trip aces. I'm just folding even to a min bet here because I'm not drawing to anything. Okay, cool, he folds. King 10 off gets a walk. Deuces in the big blinds. This is sometimes a flat, sometimes a 3-bet, depending on how deep the opener is. I'm actually going to 3-bet this because he opened kind of small, and I like to 3-bet any pocket pair. He just 4-bet jams for 86 blinds. That's an easy fold now. I like to 3-bet any pocket pair a lot of the time because people don't 4-bet enough in general. So that allows me to either take it down pre-flop or get to post-flop and then have a bigger pot ready there for me when I do flop a set. That's kind of non-standard, but I think it's fine. Here I will generally open any ace, any king on the button if I think the blinds aren't going to play back too much. So that's fine. And I don't really expect the blinds to play back a whole lot against button opens in this game because it's so much easier for them to just quick fold and go to a new hand. Here there's an open min raise from hijack over a under the gun limper, so ace jack offsuit is probably a call here. It's not good enough to 3-bet against an early position raise, I don't think. We flop nothing. He c-bets very small. I peel because I can hit 2 overs, and it's such a small bet. The turn doesn't do anything. He bets really small again on the turn. Actually kind of want to bluff raise this. This is based on a sizing tell. I probably still have 6 outs a decent portion of the time. And I can represent like 7-5 or something, or some 2 pairs here. I get called, unfortunately. River completes the flush, and the straight. Just gonna check this down. I feel like he can have, or he just has kings and he's underbetting every street for no reason. You occasionally see people do that, just like limp or flat, like a big pocket pair, and just underbet every street to try to make sure they get some value out of it, which I think is terrible. I would never do that. Again, I generally open any king on the button. Flop 2 pair, that's good. Make my standard half pot c-bet here. Here, this guy 4x versus under the gun limper. With a flat with 7-6 suited in position. We have a wide flatting range in the big blind versus small blind. We flop nothing though. I continue value betting my king 6 here for half pot. And he folds. This is an obvious fold now. We isolate queen 10 on the cutoff against a short limper from under the gun. He calls. We flop nothing. That board probably hits his limp call range better than it hits my raising range. So I'm going to peel his min bet. He min bets again. Now I can represent an ace pretty easily, so I raise turn on a bluff. And he folds. A lot of these guys, like I said, will just underbet like their entire range, just super small all the time, and there's a lot of good spots to bluff raise them when they're underbetting, as long as you can represent something on the board. King 3 suited is an easy fold against an early open. Here we have 8-7 suited on the big blind against a cutoff open and a button flat. Both of them are a little bit short, so I'm just going to flat, where I could squeeze this if they weren't short, but we flop bottom pair, gutter, backdoor flush draw. I guess we check call 1/3 pot. 9-6 suited is pretty much the bottom of my opening range here. On the cutoff. Okay, now the cutoff leads out big and the other guy calls. It's an easy fold. Queen Jack suited, I feel like, is standard open under the gun, from anywhere, really. Take down blinds. Ace-6 off, it's just going to be a fold in the blinds against, like, any open. Just plays poorly out of position and has reverse implied odds on an ace and so on and so forth. We flop nothing against a short stacker with the king high here after opening the button. I don't limp behind small blind with ace high. He donk min bets, I just call. We flop an ace. I'm just going to check it though because we have ace in the gutter to the 3, but so he min bets 2 streets and then just over like just over min bets the river. I'll just fold king high here. I think he has like an 8 or something a lot. Here we turn 2 pair, although any 3 now has the straight, and it's a 4-way pot, so I gotta be kind of cautious, but it's worth a bet. 10 river doesn't do anything. I still just half pot it. If I had only one opponent here, I'd probably check call river. Here we face a short min raise on the cutoff. This is like the bottom of my flatting range on the button. Queen 10 off. Flop a 10, that's good. Ace 5 is good here. He probably had an ace with a higher kicker. Here he leads half pot. This is probably worth protection raising. Especially to isolate and get rid of the third guy. Yeah. And they both just fold. A7 off is, well, it was going to be a fold there regardless of whether anybody opened. It's not good enough to open the cutoff in my opinion. King 10 off is like it just folded under the gun. It's not good enough to open under the gun. Standard open on the button with ace 10 off. Take it down. Queen jack offsuit on the cutoff. If anyone raises before me, I fold it, but I will open it if they both fold. Get called by the short button. Flop a gutter and 2 overs. This is probably worth a c-bet for half pot. A decent portion of the time he'll just have nothing and fold. The king turn is actually a decent barreling card, but we have to be willing to fire off all 3 in a lot of rivers, so I'm just going to check it. He half pots the turn. I'm just going to check fold. He could also perceive the king as like a bit of a reverse scare card, so I didn't really feel like barreling it, although barreling there is not terrible. 10-4 suited is still a fold on the button. Probably the worst one I'll open there is 10-6 suited. Here we open small blind with queen 9 off. Get a call, flop a gutter. We'll see bet half pot because at least some of the time he'll have nothing and just fold. Get called. We turn open-ended. It's not bad, so we need a 5 or 10 or maybe queen. Let me go ahead and pot it because I want more fold equity. Let me get a fold, that's good. That's something that I do fairly often after making my standard half pot bet. If I like turn some equity or I have a strong draw and I want them to fold, I'll go ahead and pot the turn more often to get more fold equity. Isolating jacks on the button against an under-the-gun limper who is short here. And here we're opening small blind with jack 8 suited. Ooh, and I get 3-bet by the... I get 3-bet really big by the small blind here. I don't think I'm getting away from jacks here against a short stacker. I'm just shipping this in. And we run into aces, of course. And we're dead. Here we've got flush draw and 2 pair, so we keep value betting. Although check raising turn is actually viable here too. I'm gonna half pot river for value. There are a few straights he can have. He just folds, that's fine. It's also fine to check call river there, if he can, because he can have some busted draws, but I feel like he has fewer busted draws because I had the flush draw. He's short stacker, min raises. I just fold 5-4 suited here because he's min raising early position. Here we isolate ace queen suited against a hijack limper. I don't like c-betting this coordinated board against 2 callers. Especially the big blind can have a lot of stuff that hits that board really well. Yeah, he pots, or 3/4 pots it, something like that. Just fold my 2 overs. A little limp behind king 7 suited and small blind. Here I'm 3-betting jacks, button versus cutoff. Flop is set, that's good. And here we turn a flush draw, so I go ahead and pot it out since everyone, it's an unraised pot and everyone checked the flop. So yeah, he just folds, okay. Eight 6 suited is near the bottom of my cutoff open range. We flop a flush draw. Here the small blind open min raises and we just flat ace 6 suited and flop middle pair. This guy leads out. I'm gonna raise my flush draw against his small lead. I feel like I get a fair number of folds, and I turn a flush. That's excellent. So here I half pot my middle pair. He leads super small on the turn, so we raise for protection with the flush. He ships it. Hope he doesn't have us overflushed. Nope, just top pair on the second nut flush draw. Check back turn here on the king. 6 might still be good. He pots the river, so he open min raised, check called flop, check 3 turn, and potted the river. I don't buy that. Oh, he turned to king is why. That's fine. I like my call, okay. We get 3-bet big by the big blind. I'm actually just folding this because I feel like I'm not confident if I hit top pair. I have to have reverse implieds against his 3-betting range pretty often. Unless he's just 3-bet bluffing like a ton, which there's no reason to assume at this point. Jacks on both tables here. 3-betting jacks in position for kind of value slash protection against a guy who's a little bit deep. Here I'm 3-betting jacks, big blind versus hijack for value slash protection. But note that I'm planning to fold to 4-bet in both of these spots because people 4-bet so rarely in this game. And I get called. I don't like this flop. Check it, but I do like the flop on the left, so I c-bet my this set. We're just check folding this 4 flush board. I'm gonna continue betting my set. Get called again. I hate the river. That's a really awful river, but he shouldn't really have a 7 or spades that much, so I'm still gonna value bet it because he might just call me with his overpairs. Yeah. The 3 flush 4 straight board there, in a 3-bet pot, it's very unlikely anyone should hit that after he opened early and flatted a 3-bet. So that board can have some reverse scare value, so he can think that I'm trying to bluff because it looks like a scary board, which I guess he did. He called me down with, I actually think he had queens, kings, or aces there, but let's find out what he had. Yeah, he had queens. So if he had 4-bet pre, he would have won the pot. I don't really blame him for not 4-betting queens in this game in that sort of position because it's just really hard to get paid by worse. It's like 4-bets almost always just mean aces or kings in this game. Here I 3-bet in position with king 10 suited. This is not the best flop. I don't even have one club on the board, so I just check it back. And if he leads turn, I'll let him have it. Even though he only bets 1/3 pot, I just have no equity, and I feel like queen high boards are especially bad to go after 3-bet bluffing in position because people's ranges are so weighted toward like ace queen, king queen type hands when they just flat 3-bet. Out of position, that is. I have ace queen off in the big blind against an under the gun open and a short button flat. Ooh, and a 3-bet from small blind. That's going to be really, really strong. So I'm actually just folding ace queen here. Eight, 7 suited is a pretty standard cutoff open for me. Queens we obviously open in the hijack. And take it down. Short stacker jams 37 bigs on the button over us, so we obviously just fold 8, 7 suited. Here we got a min raise from a short hijack and a call from an even shorter cutoff, so we just flat 4s here. Whereas if they were deeper, I could squeeze this a lot, but not against short stacks. We flop under pair and a pretty bad gutter. This is pretty much a fold against any bet. Yeah, easy fold. Seven, 6 off, like I said, is like the bottom of my button opening range, and it's an easy fold to a 3-bet. Ace 9 off doesn't quite make it under the gun or on the hijack. I feel like that hand doesn't come into the cutoff, but I will open ace 10 off and both under the gun and hijack. And I'm going to pause for a second to take a quick bathroom break. Be right back. Alright, here we go again. See, I think I may have overplayed those jacks earlier against the short stacker. I think the more I think about it, the more I think that there are a lot of short stackers in these games that buy in short and literally just wait for aces or kings and jam pre-flop. So queens I think are definitely a call there against the guy with 40 bigs or whatever, but with jacks we may actually be able to fold the 3-bet, oddly enough, even though he only has 40 bigs, just because his range for 3-betting that spot, we know he can't be bluffing because he's too short, and the only worse hands he can be 3-betting for value are like, you know, bigger pairs and maybe AK. Probably not ace queen. So that may actually be a fold. I may have misplayed that. Here my ace deuce suited is on a double paired board against 2 opponents. This guy underbets the turn. I call because ace high can be the best hand here. He can have busted draws. Check. Oh, he has pocket 5s. That's fine. I'm just quick folding 9-8 off on the big blind. I would play it only against like a small blind open, but it's probably a better use of time to just quick fold it and move on because it's going to so rarely be playable. If anyone else opens, it's a fold. Here I'm going to 3-bet bluff 7-6 suited, small blind versus button. I get a decent number of folds here, and I have an okay drawing. Yeah, I get a fold. I have an okay drawing hand for post flop if he calls. Again, that would be too weak to 3-bet bluff against like probably anyone other than button, but the button has such a wider opening range than any of the other positions that I think a hand as weak as 7-6 suited can still be a 3-bet bluff. Seven six suited. Speaking of which, is kind of the bottom of my under the gun opening range in a tight game like this. Get flatted by the short small blind and by the full big blind, and we hit a terrible flop for our hand. Queen 10 suited facing short under the gun raise. It's like the bottom of my flatting range. We flop middle pair gutter. But this is a great board for him. He half pots it. I guess we check call because we've got that's a bad turn. If he keeps barreling, we're clearly folding. He checks back. Okay, perhaps the 10 is good here, but he also has a king a good portion of the time. If he bets again, we're folding. Yeah, that makes he overbets river. Okay, we just check back or fold rather. King Jack under the gun is kind of my like bottom of my offsuit opening range here. Queen Jack offsuit has to be a fold to an early raise, so go away. Here we get 3-bet by a short button, so I think he has an extremely strong range here, and it's a very easy fold with King Jack offsuit. King 9 suited isn't quite an open under the gun, I don't think. We're isolating a short limper with King 10 suited from the hijack. Get called by the short big blind and by the limper. We flop nothing, just one over backdoor flush draw. So we got donk min bets out and gets a call. I guess we just call. We turn a flush draw, so that's cool. He min bets again. It's a fold. I think now I can raise and represent a jack. Make it 12. And he folds. There we go. One of the things I feel like people don't do enough against these stupid underbets is call with the intention of raising a later street. I think you need to do that to play well against small ball underbet type lines, because if your calling range against the small ball bet on the flop is never a hand that's good enough to raise later streets, then that gives away the strength of your hand a lot when you just call. So you should, against the underbet, you should value raise thinly some, and you should bluff raise some, and you should call with the intention of raising a later street a lot of the time some. Queen 10 suited takes it down pre. Five four suited is not good enough in the cutoff, or in the hijack. I mean, it probably would be good enough in the cutoff, but not the hijack. Again, I open like any king on the button, so just people are gonna fold their blinds so often, it's fine. 10-9 off is like button only. I don't even open that. Some people open that on the hijack, but I don't even open it until the button. Here we get 3-bet, and we just easily fold king 7 off. It's just a bad hand. King queen suited under the gun is a very standard raise. Get called by the cutoff and get squeezed by the deep button. And cold called by the small blind, who's very short. That is peculiar. I'm actually folding this. A call isn't terrible, but I feel like with that short stacker in the pot, I'm playing my hand more for like drawing value at that point than I am for the king high. And with that short stacker in the pot with such a high percentage of stacks in pre-flop, I don't really want to continue with king queen at that point, even though it is suited. So I feel like I make a good fold there. I feel like when the short stack flats off such a large portion of his stack there, he's going to have a monster a good portion of the time that he just didn't want to cold 4-bet because it looks too strong. Ace check suited takes down blinds. Here there's a min raise on the cutoff or just folding king 5 off. Again, we're just quick folding hands like 9-8 offsuit on the big blind. So I just don't care to wait around and see if it happens to be a small blind open. Aces in the small blind. Hopefully somebody opens. Nope. So we're opening small blind with aces. And probably just getting a fold. We got a call at least. And flop top set. I'm actually going to try to check raise this flop. Because I want more money in. But he checks back flop. So he probably just has nothing. And when we half pot turn, he's going... Oh, he calls. Probably has a real weak pair bluff catcher here after checking back flop calling turn. So we just half pot it again and see if we can get a call. Yeah. Just trying to get the little bit of value out of that we can. Check raising river is bad because he never bets. He just checks back his weak pairs all the time. Let's see what he had out of curiosity. I assume he had like a 7 or a 5. Cool, here I'm 3-betting. I'm squeezing 9s against deep button and standard stack. I'm sorry, deep cutoff and standard stack button. Called by the button. This is not a good flop to continue on. Like, it hits his flatting and reflatting range pretty well. Here I'm 3-betting AK versus an under the gun limper. I'm just trying to check down these 9s and hope I can get to showdown cheaply. Hope he didn't river a queen there. Jack 10 suited takes it down. That's a shame. I could have bluffed him off that, but it's not worth trying, really. Here I flop 2 overs, gutter, backdoor flush draw, take it down. That's good. Anyway, oh, we had kings on that hand against my aces. Wow. I am shocked that he just flatted pre. That's really terrible, actually. We should be 3-betting that like always. But what can you do? Some people are bad. Jack 10 off and the blinds against under the gun open is a real easy fold. Standard button open with ace-6 suited, take down blinds. Jack 10 off is not good enough to open under the gun, or the hijack really, it's cut off for later, I think. Now there's a small 3-bet from cutoff who's a little bit short against under the gun raise. So this is small enough that I can call with 8s to set mine. Cold call. We don't flop an 8, unfortunately. If the small 3-better c-bets here, we pretty much give up. Yeah, he c-bets pretty big. So I feel like a lot of people will like 3-bet really small with their premiums in this game. Just to keep you in because they don't want you to fold, which I think is the wrong approach. They're just giving you too good odds to draw out on them, even though they get a little bit more money when you don't fold pre-flop, etc. And over here on the left, I just half-potted my top pair in an unraised pot and took it down, so it's standard. Standard button open, Jack 10 off. 3-betting small blind versus the slightly short under the gun here with ace king. Here we get 3-bet and we just fold jack 10 off. It's just not good. Here we hit our ace king, c-bet standard half pot, and get a fold. $10-7 off against, and the big blind against under the gun open min raise is just bad. I'm not doing anything with that. Uh, 10-6 suited against a cutoff raise is easy fold. Jack 6 off and just quick folding. 10-8 suit on the button. This I can 3-bet against a lot of people, if anyone opens, especially deep stackers. We got a limp. Go ahead and isolate it. Big blind folds. The limper probably limp calls, given that he's deep. Nope, limp fold. That's fine with me. Queen 9 off is not good enough on the hijack. It kind of just barely makes it in on the cutoff, I think, so it's an easy fold. There are some spots where I could probably theoretically limp behind with really weak drawing hands, but I just don't care. I'd rather just fold and get onto a new hand. It's just not worth the time. Ace 6 suited, standard cutoff open here. Take down blinds. Seven 6 suited on the cutoff I can definitely open. Facing a short under the gun raise though, I think we just flat. It's borderline between flat and fold there. He's just not deep enough for us to 3-bet him with such a weak hand, but it's like big blind might be contemplating a squeeze here. No, he just calls. We flop middle pair, no draw. That's not so good. Although they both check to us, so now we can kind of protection bet our middle pair here. Get check called by the original raiser. I'll check it again. I think he has 9s or 10s a lot, maybe ace high, so this is a bad run out. I guess we call him in bet, but his jack is good. That's interesting that he didn't c-bet the flop. That's a little bit unusual. But that's okay. I guess he made a little bit more money on it that way. It's certainly fine to check call there some of the time. Here we get a short. Ooh. I'm actually folding this because it's too big a percentage of stacks against these short stackers pre-flop. Queens opening small blind. Get a call. That's cool. C-bet my standard half pot on this board. Get called. Another 9 on the turn is bad. I check call here. Checked again. Backdoor flush got there, but I still think he calls with burst, so I just half pot river. Oh, he actually rivered the gutter. That's unfortunate. Crappy ace offsuit is easy fold against early opens on both tables. Ace 10 off, I open under the gun. It's one of the worst. That and king jack offsuit are the worst offsuit hands that I open under the gun. Take down blinds. Queen 8 off on the small blind. I guess with two limpers we can limp behind. It's not strong enough to raise, but given that our small blind discount is there. Oh, now we flop nothing. I'm just going to quick fold against three people. Queen 8 off is not good enough to defend against any raise, so easy fold. Queen 4 suited is probably not good enough to do anything with here on the cutoff, so we're just folding. Fours on the cutoff. We're going to 3-bet the hijack opener. Again, because we're deep, we can do this for protection. We're deep and we don't expect him to 4-bet enough, is the main reason that we're doing this. And if he flats and we flop a set, the pot will be bigger. Unfortunately, the short stack jams, so this is like an easy fold now. Queen jack and the hijack is not good enough. Queen jack offsuit isn't. Ace 10 off, we can open in the hijack, but if under the gun opens, it's a fold. I think it's 6-5 suited in the small blind. This is probably a fold against anything other than a button open, and then it's probably a 3-better fold. But we open small blind with it and take down blinds, so that's fine. Jack 9 suited on the cutoff is definitely an easy open. I mean, I generally open that hand under the gun, honestly. Like, I think it's a fine hand. Unfortunately, we get shoved by the short stack button and just fold. Ace 6 off on the cutoff is always a fold. King 10 off on the big blind is not good enough against an under the gun raise. Open 5s under the gun. I am opening any pair in any position. I think that's fine in 6 max as a general rule. Take it down, it's fine. Ace 9 off, I'm going to open cutoff, but I would have folded it if anybody had opened the first 2 seats. Get 3-bet by the button and just fold. Hand's going to play terribly with deep stacks out of position, especially in a 3-bet pot. Queen 2 off is not enough to open the button, I don't think. Again, I'm opening any suited ace in any position as well. I think that is theoretically too wide, but I also think it works in a game where people don't 3-bet enough or defend enough in general. Jack 7 suited is not quite good enough to open the hijack, I don't think. Definitely would open cutoff with it. As for what suited jacks I open in the hijack, probably still Jack 9 suited is the worst one. I don't think Jack 8 suited comes in until the cutoff either. 9-8 off is not good enough to do anything with in the cutoff. Ace-3 off, we're just quick folding big blind. I don't really care to wait and see. It's only going to be playable against a small blind open. And if I get walked, then I'd get the money even though I quick fold it anyway, so. That's one of the hands I just don't really wait on. Queen Jack suited in the hijack. Easy open. And take it down. Ace-7 suited in the small blind. This is a fold against an early open, but it's a call or 3-bet, I think, against a late open. I'm actually going to squeeze here because both these players are deep. Get a fold from the cutoff. Get called by the button. Flop nothing. Just check it. Checks back. I turn a 7. That's okay. Check again. Unfortunately, there's now a 4 straight on board, but my 7 might be good here. Yeah, the 7's good. I want to see what he had, though. Here I'm isolating Queen-9 suited in the cutoff against some short under the gun limper. I guess he could limp. He has leverage to limp 3-bet jam, but I don't think he'll do it very much. Yeah, he just limp folds. We get flatted by the big blind. This is a board I think is great for one and done bluffing, like, because he can't really have much unless he has an ace, and I can have an ace pretty often, so just take it down. Ace-6 suited. Gonna make my big isolation raise out of position. This guy is almost short enough that I can't do this, but I think it's still okay against the guy with like 50 big blinds. He limp calls. I flop nut flush draw, make my standard half pot c-bet. Calls. I don't turn anything. That's not a great turn card. Some gutters got there. I'm just going to check turn. If I keep betting, he gets good leverage to shove on me. He bets really small on the turn. I guess I check call with my nut flush draw. Don't river the flush. His 8 is good. Here, this guy opened just over min. I'm going to 3-bet real big as a bluff with ace-3 suited against this small cutoff open. Get 4-bet jammed, so that's an easy fold. Okay, so the guy on that other hand where I had ace-7 suited actually had king-7 suited and turned a worse 7. Don't like his play. I think flatting the 3-bet with king-7 suited is pretty bad. This I can just check back. Turn a gutter. He shouldn't have a whole lot here except for like, ooh, I flop a set. It's going to be an easy raise against donk min bet. He calls. Turn doesn't do a whole lot. Oh, I make my gutter over here. That's fun. He goes donk, call, donk. I will raise him again with the set. I'm going to half pot my wheel on the river here. Thankfully, nothing got there here except 5-6, which I think is very unlikely, so. Raise big again against his donk, call, donk, call, donk. And he folds. Standard ace, standard raise on the button with any ace. Flop nothing. Easy check back, I think. Ace high can definitely be good. Check back again. 6 river doesn't do much. He pots the river after checking twice. That can be a bluff a lot. Pocket 7s. That's a good play. I like his play there. King queen off I feel is just a flat in the blinds against the steal. We flop nothing though in a 3-way pot, so we're check folding. Turn the nut flush draw. Go ahead and half pot it. I don't think anyone has an ace that often when they both check through. Fortunately, we get called by one of them. Isolating 5s against a short under the gun limper over here. And we do not river the flush, so we're just check folding now. He almost certainly has us beat. Yeah, ace 10 is good. We don't flop a set of 5s. It's a 4-way pot. We're not very happy about this. Open the button with deuces, very standard. This guy bets like 1/8 pot or something. Here I get 3-bet pretty big. I'm going to fold because he's short and I don't have the implieds to chase deuces. Guess I call 1/8 pot here. River comes backdoor flush. And he bets a little less than half pot. I can just fold. Here we flop nothing. I'm just going to check back one time. I think betting is okay, but checking back is also okay. 4 diamonds, I'm just checking this down. He has an 8. Might have been able to bluff him off the river, but maybe not. Because I probably would have bet with a good diamond at some point before then. So all I represent if I bet the river is like a middling diamond that's thin value betting, and he might put me on a polarized range and just call anyway with his 8. So I don't mind my play there. Here I'm opening cutoff with 9-7 suited, I think is standard. Called by the big blind, flop nothing. I'm not going to c-bet this because it's less likely I have an ace with 2 of them on board, so I just check back and fold to a turn lead. Here, I flop the flush draw. I'm going to c-bet my standard half pot, although pot is actually okay here too. Get called. I don't turn anything. I have flush draw gut shot, and I'm going to pot the turn because he could be on a queen, which he'll probably now fold. He could also have an ace or a flush draw or 2 pair. Could even have jack 10, but when I pop the turn, I get extra fold equity. He folds. Here we open any ace on the small blind. Get a fold, that's fine. Here under the gun open and we have 10-9 suited. Cut off flatted. This is actually a good 3-bet bluffing spot. And everyone folds. Cool. When you 3-bet in the blinds against like an early open, especially if it's a squeeze, it just looks so strong that you can get away with doing it with, you know, a lot of suited connectors and suited aces and things like that. Especially the higher suited connectors like 10-9, I feel like is great for that there. Here, we 3-bet for value / protection with jacks, button versus cutoff. Just flat with 4s, looking to set mine. We hit the set of 4s, excellent, in a 4-way pot. Hopefully the original raiser will keep betting. Nope. Does the button want to take a stab? Nope. Turn gives me 4s full. Go ahead and lead out half pot. But I expect everyone to fold here pretty often. Unless someone has an 8, which would be cool. Get called by the original raiser, who is short. Ooh, and get raised by the button. Cool. Here I actually just call, because I want the other guy to call. And I assume the button has an 8 really often. So now I'm actually going to check raise all in on the river. He might also have a busted draw that he may want to continue bluffing with, because he can think that I'm on a busted draw. Yep. Check shove river. And forceful is good. Excellent. I assume he had an 8. They probably had ace 8, king 8, something like that. Here I opened queen jack off on the cutoff and got a button caller and flop top pair, so I just make my standard half pot c-bet. Get raised. I get min raised. I guess I have to call that, but I'm pretty weary now. 7 doesn't do anything. He bombs the turn. I think he's just beating me here. He has like 2 pair or a set a lot. I guess he could have a draw, but it's not worth finding out. Here I opened ace 3 suited under the gun and got 2 callers from button and small blind. I flopped nothing but a backdoor flush draw 1 over, so I just check it, and if anyone bets, I'm folding. Yeah, it's a fold. So I'm probably going to call it a session in about 15 minutes. Good hour and a half video is nice. Obviously easy folds with some garbage hands here. Ace queen off, we're opening on the cutoff, and we get 3 by a short button. This is a fold. The only way it would be anything other than a fold against that stack size is if we had reads on him and we knew that he was just 3-bet bluffing a ton, and then we could just protection shove ace queen. But I think that the short stackers in these games are actually 3-betting like incredibly strong ranges, like aces, kings, queens, and that's about all. Because every time I've had a short stacker 3-bet me and I've gotten it in with like jacks or 10s, he just shows up with aces or kings like every single time. So I don't even think they're 3-betting ace king. I think they're just 3-betting like the biggest pairs, and that's all. So I think I can make some pretty good exploitative folds to those 3-bets from short stackers. And in retrospect, I probably should have folded those jacks earlier in the session against the short stack 3-bet, even though he only had 40 bigs or whatever. Open small blind with king 10 off and flop 10. Just standard half pot c-bet here is fine. Get called. Turn 3 flush card is bad for us. We check it. Thankfully he checks back. I can half pot river for value here, I think, and get called by a worse 10. Yeah. I'm actually going to isolate 9-8 off on the button against a cutoff limper. And unfortunately get 3-bet by the small blind, so that's actually a fold. It just hands too low in my range to continue against 3-bet. Jack-8 suited is like almost raisable from hijack, but I feel like not quite. It's really, really close to the border. Anyway, so standard opens here with 9-7 suited and queen 9 off. Get 3-bet by the deep small blind. I'm going to call this one. We have flop nothing, so if you see bets, we're just folding. I called this because we're deep. He checks flop. I don't think he's intending to go away very easily. Since he's deep, he's probably a decent player. He bets flop and we just fold. I think he likely had overcards off in there. And he would have check called one barrel, so we would have had to... We're going to be looking at firing multiple barrels with nothing if we want to try to take that pot, so I just didn't really want to do that. I'm going to 3-bet 3s in position, kind of for protection / as a bluff. And get insta 4-bet jammed by under the gun, so that's a very easy fold. I think that 100 big blind 4-bet jam that people like to make sometimes is really horrible. I don't think it does anything good at all. Your opponent has to be 3-betting like an obscene number of hands for it to work, and I am 3-betting more than most people, but not an obscene number. I'm actually just going to check my top pair here. Check call half pot. There's a lot of bad turn cards for me, a lot of bad river cards. Barrels half pot again. I'll check call one more and then probably give up if he fires all 3. Yeah, it's a fold now. Here I'm 3-bet bluffing in position with king 10 suited against under the gun min raise. Thankfully the short stacker didn't jam on me. Let me just take it down, that's cool. Here we're opening, king queen off on the button, very standard. Flop nothing against 2 people, not really a good c-bet spot, because I obviously don't rep much either except over pairs. I would probably c-bet against 1 person, but not 2. He leads out half pot on turn, small blind does, and gets called, so just fold my king queen high now. King 10 suited on the button. This is definitely 3-bet bluffable against anybody, except a short stacker. Then it's a flat. But they all fold anyway, so I just make a standard open and take down blinds. That's totally fine. Jack 3 off on the button is always a fold, no matter what happens. 10 deuce suited on the small blind is almost always a fold. It's not good enough to open small blind. If anyone raises, it's a fold. The only time I could play it is if there's at least one limper, so I can limp behind. Here we go with a standard open on the button, ace 4 suited. Take down blinds, it's fine. King 2 off is easily a fold in the big blind against early raise. It's almost always a fold, almost everywhere. King 7 off is an easy fold, regardless of whether under the gun raises. I'm just gonna flat tens here because he's short and it would give him good leverage to 4-bet jam on me if I were to 3-bet. He half pots it, I'll call one street and probably fold to a second barrel. Here I get 3-bet with ace king against by the short big blind to just call. Don't flop anything. Check back my tens. I think I probably have the best hand with the tens here now. I don't know why his queens wouldn't continue betting. That's weird. I guess I call. Ace queen. I don't know why he checked turn. Just a trap, I guess. I'm just gonna fold ace king here when he c-bets. That out of position bet check bet after raising preflop, I just don't give it a ton of credit, really. I guess it's a good turn trap check by him because it got him another barrel of value on the river, so well played, I guess. But I do expect a queen to continue betting there almost all the time. So standard open with threes in the cutoff. Here I'm isolating king 10 off against a very short stack under the gun limper and limp behind from hijack. If he limp 3-bet jams, we just fold. But much more often he'll limp fold or limp call. We don't flop anything, unfortunately. He just donk jams the flop. That makes it a very easy fold. King 10 suited on the big blind against a short button limp. Go ahead and make my big isolation raise out of position here. Expect a limp call a lot. Well, you just limp fold. That's fine too. Only thing I really don't want to see is a limp 3-bet, but that's very, very rare and almost always just means aces. Opening some jacks under the gun, opening some threes on the button. Jacks take down blinds. Threes get a call from a short stacker and a very deep stack on the blinds. In the blinds, rather. Looks like the deep stacker might be leading out here. Nope, I just check back though, because I don't have anything. And that's not a good board to go after. It's pretty coordinated, and I've got two opponents. I'll just fold turn to a lead. Nine five suited against a short stack. This is really marginal, but I think it's like, this is one of those spots where I think you can widen your isolating range a little bit, because the limpers are often bad players. Like especially a short stack limper is often a bad player that's just going to limp call check fold a ton like that, and you just take down the dead money that you put in pre-flop. I don't think 9-5 suited is normally a cutoff open. I just think that like against a short limper, a relatively short limper, if he was ultra short, then I couldn't raise because it would give him good leverage to 3-bet jam on me. But he had like 50 bigs, so against that stack size, I feel like I can widen my isolating range a little bit just to get him to limp call check fold and give me the dead money. It's kind of a weird spot. Here I have nines in the big blind versus an under the gun raise, and I'm just gonna flat this. 3-betting is possible too, but I feel like it's a little loose. It's a little too wide for value to 3-bet. Under the gun c-bets half pot, I just check fold. Alright, so here we are. It's been an hour and a half. I'm gonna go ahead and sit out next big blind. Call it a session. So here we have a shortish stack, isolating a super short big blind, or under the gun limper. So I might 3-bet this if the limper under the gun weren't short, but he is. Instead, I'm just going to call. It's kind of the bottom of a flatting range here. But he's going to c-bet off in here and then just take it down, so we'll let him have it. Jack 10 off on the button. This is going to be a fold if anyone opens early. It's probably a flat against a cutoff open, and it's an open if everyone folds. So, but I will isolate a limper with it for sure. Get limp called, flop nothing, but this is a great board to just one and done bluff. He can be limp calling weak aces, but he limp calls. Okay, yeah, we're just giving up here now. If he doesn't fold to the first barrel, he's probably not folding to more than one. Yeah, wow, limp called ace jack. That's really terrible. That should always be an open. People limp call like the most bizarre hands, I swear. It's just strange. Like you see people go limp call, check, check, aces, and it's like, are you retarded? I mean, like, do you just not want any value out of your good hands? Whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is Gage Brown at 100 No Limit.